and find out what the rules are, because every country's different, and so they can do preliminary work by doing it that way. And everybody's different. What appeals to me might not appeal to the next fellow, and so I only got about 5 or 6 of them today, and out of the 6, 3 of them were military retirees.
Good advice. That's excellent advice. That's excellent advice. And that's gonna take us up to our break. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you right up front, Mr. Bob Chapman is the man to call. If you're in the chat room, the phone number is, again, even if you're not in the chat room, the phone number, again, is 1-800. You got that? 1-800-375-4188. And his email address is bob@INTFORECASTER.com. You can send him an email, write him a letter. The best way to do it is you just heard it from the mouth, his mouth. He said, just after the golf game, send him an email. And after he finds all those balls he's knocked into the water, he'll answer the email. So with all of that said, sometimes he puts one in the hole too. We'll be back in 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Bob Chapman, who is out there, he knows we're on the destruct. He knows there's a coming collapse financially in America, and he wants you to be prepared financially with your boomers, your food, and your place in the country. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys, we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, it happens to be Thursday here in the United States, and down under, it happens to be Friday. But we still have Mr. Bob Chapman, and he's here to give you your financial questions a good answer. And remember, Mr. Bob Chapman is the most plagiarized financial forecaster out there. Things that he said 2 years ago, other forecasters are talking about today. Things he said 4 years ago, other forecasters are talking about today. Things he's been talking about the last 3 or 4 weeks, other forecasters aren't even talking about yet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Bob Chapman back to the show. Mr. Chapman, we're here. We got tons of little questions on the side out here. And the latest question, and I need to go back here to this question from Venezuela. We had this question in. Asked Mr. Chapman what he feels about the financial situation in Venezuela, and is the financial situation in Venezuela going up in flames because of Mr. Chavez's administration, or is it really the sunshine? Or is it really the sunshine of South America?
I think looking back over these last 7 or 8 years that he's been in office, that really his economic policies haven't worked very well. And I think that politics came, it was more important to his socialist type of government, that political things were more important, or at least slightly more important than economic things. And so I think he and his administration are to blame, and the country is economically in a mess. And you live there, so you know that. But then again, things are inflationary and slow throughout the world. And look at the United States with a terrible inflationary recession, depression that they're in presently. And so the world's having difficulty, but he's having more difficulty than the world. And if he continues to do what he's doing, he is going to go up in flames from an economic and financial viewpoint. Socialism and communism, and he's got a cross between the two, don't work. And the people in Venezuela are going to find that out.
As a second question, on the Venezuela issue. Ask Mr. Chapman if the Chavez and Morales announcement to merge Venezuela and Bolivia into one country over the next year is a good idea, and what is his opinion?
Well, I just think it's a consolidation of communist power, and I don't think it's a good idea at all. There's a great deal of difference between those two countries, and I think if they both went out of office, they'd split up again, where they brought together as one country. So the answer is absolutely no. I mean, they just have different agendas, and I don't think it's a good idea.
The follow-up question here is, or statement, or comment, I should say, believe it or not, Mr. Chapman, the announcement by both Evo and Chavez was a very well, and has been a very well established surprise and shock to the people here in Brasilia as well as in Caracas. It amazes me that this new nation will even be formed and complete a dream of these two, quote, dictators.
Well, that's really what they are. And it's a tragedy for the people. I mean, both countries have been looted for centuries by the British and the Americans and the Spanish and the Portuguese in the case of Brazil. And that was wrong. But they went too far in the other direction, bringing people like this to power who are, in their own way, are every bit as bad as the bad guys. So now you get two sets of bad guys. What you got to do as voters is get in the middle and get some people who want democracy and to shunt these rich oligarchs on one hand aside and these communists on the other aside. You got to get some kind of a middle-of-the-road government, and that'll work. I mean, something like Chile's got. They kind of bang back and forth between democracy and socialism. It's worked okay. And Latin American governments like strong leaders, just like France, Italy, Spain, and Portugal. In Europe, they have a history of wanting strong leaders. And very often that leads to one form of socialism or the other, which is really captivity.
Captivity, like a semi-slave state?
Yes, like being in a cage and you can't get out. And that's what's happening in America, incidentally. But that's why I don't recommend those countries. I used to like Chile, but I can't. Half the country fell apart. You're going to have to wait 10 or 15 years to go there until they have everything fixed. But Chile's a fine country.
And they're not getting any financial backing like Haiti's getting. Haiti's getting $10 billion, and nobody's sending money to Chile.
That's right. It's a great country. And it varies pretty widely all the way from the north down to the Tierra del Fuego in the south. It makes some of the greatest farming and makes some of the finest wines in the world. And manufacturing is excellent. They have great copper deposits, gold, silver. They get everything going for them. But right now, they get economic problems because of that earthquake, and it's a tragedy.
Mr. Chapman, here in Calais, Ireland, A-T-H, Clay, C-L-I-A-T-H, Ireland, there is a Irish bank posting $17 billion in losses, $12.7 billion in euro dollars over the last 15 months through December, meeting all the expectations that such a report is bringing these large losses to the Irish corporate banking system. Do you think that Ireland or anybody else can bring in $15 billion in euros to help bail out this nation?
Yeah, I think they can. And the reason why is they've made a desperate attempt to try to fix their problems. And they may have to give more in the way of wages and things like that. It's true austerity. It's a kind of program like what the IMF would impose. And better they should do it themselves than have the IMF do it. And Ireland is going to make it, but they'll be in a depression for the next 20 years. But that's the price you got to pay for poor management. And Spain and Portugal and Greece are in the same boat. And if they can stay above water, it's going to be a difficult fight. I think what's going to happen is about a year and a half from now, maybe 2 years, there's going to be a big meeting. And they've had these before. And all the currencies are going to be devalued, and there's going to be a debt settlement